to be with you here today. We are live on the internet, and we're going to be talking about how live streaming can grow your business, can grow your brand, can grow your channel in ways that you never thought possible. We have an amazing guest today. We have an amazing show. So go pop your popcorn, go pour another cup of coffee. It's going to get radical in here today. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. It's Owen Video. Owen Video! Welcome back to Stream Like You Mean It, where we help you, the video creator and entrepreneur, create more engaging, more effective live stream shows. I'm your host, Owen Video. You can give me 5. That's right. Type 5 into the comment section below. That is how we say hello. And we want to welcome you today, whether you're watching live or on the replay. Here's my question for you today, because, you know, we're getting to know each other. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're getting to understand who each other is. Ours is, theirs is, we's is. I've been watching The Hobbit, guys, and I'm going a little nuts here. I want to get to know who you are just a little bit. So I got a question for you today, and I'd like for you to answer it in the comment section. Tell me, why are you interested in live streaming? What's the appeal? Are you trying to get more subscribers? Do you want to get more leads, more sales, maybe even more brand deals? By the way, live streaming is a phenomenal way to add more brand deals to your bottom line. But you are the live stream nation, and I want you to be a part of the conversation. So let me hear from you. What is it about live streaming that really lights your fire? Tell me about it in the comment section below. And while you're doing that, I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors over at Restream.io, the best and the most powerful live streaming tool in the world. With Restream.io, you can broadcast your message on multiple social media platforms at the same time. And with the new Restream Studio, you can go live with custom branded graphics, a chat room that pulls all your conversations into one place, and many more features. So get started today on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and more. Just visit owenvideo.com/restream to get your free trial today. Okay, guys, go to owenvideo.com/restream, and I'll tell you what, you go to Restream and you get yourself a free trial, or even if you want to upgrade to the paid version, and then I want you to tell me about it, because I want to give you a shout out on this show. This is what we're all about. We are all about creating community here, and we're all about helping you to create the best live stream show for your brand. Like, for example, we got my man, Jay Hauslander, out there in the house today, and he's saying, you know, the big thing that I want to do is create monetization. And what Jay does, Jay actually helps high school and college sports teams broadcast their live events. So I like to hear from you guys on that. We've also got my man Leadership with Mike logging in, who's saying, hey, I want to connect with my audience and get some super chats at some point. Hey, super chats are the bomb. I have made some good money on super chats. And you know what we do? It's like super chats, for you guys who don't know, is how people can donate to you on YouTube Live. So if you're streaming on YouTube Live, and I know a lot of you guys are watching us on YouTube Live right now, super chats are a phenomenal way. Just like get money from your clients, and that, you know, that pay, you know, here's the thing. People are like, oh, it's 25 bucks, or I only made $100 today. But you know what? For so many of us, that's your power bill. That's your freaking power bill, dog. Like, if your live stream can pay for your heat, then you're on fire. That's what I'm saying. And that reminds me to say hello to my good friend and birthday boy, Jason Rodriguez, who says, you are a rhyming genius. Anybody want a peanut? That's correct, folks. I actually did, Jason, work on some of the rhyming today. And I'm playing with some new things, guys. I came to bring the heat, and so I hope you're feeling the fire. Our Facebook user says hello from Toronto, Canada. My guess is that is Teacher Paul. You know, sometimes you can't see everybody's names in the Facebook group. Seesaw is saying, I want to connect with my viewers and gain new ones. Let me tell you something. Every time I go live, I get a ton of new subscribers on my YouTube channel. So whether you're going live to teach, to educate, to have a good time, whatever the case might be, there's so much value in going live and just being available to your audience. How many of you guys have kids? Yeah, you have kids? I have 4 kids that I know about. And let me tell you something. I have been in love with my children since the day I first laid eyes on their paternity tests. Let me tell you, that moment when the doctor's like, no, they're yours, you know, that moment I felt my heart grew 3 sizes that day. But, you know, here's the thing is that, you know, if you don't spend time with your kids, it creates a chasm between you, you know, and then one day you're looking at your 9-year-old and you're like, dude, I barely even know this kid. And this is just kind of like the hard part of entrepreneurial parenting, right? Because sometimes you're just like so deep into the work that you do, you forget to go play catch. You forget to go play, you know, I take my kids we have a penny arcade out here. I like to go take them to play pinball and get them kind of away from the video games, but still doing a video game thing. That's how I bond with my kids. But it's the same thing with your audience. You know what I mean? Like if you don't go live with your audience, then what you're doing, you're creating a chasm. And then when you go and you ask them for a sale, or you ask them to join their program, you know, it becomes this weird kind of like, I can't believe you're asking me for money when we barely know each other. So I really like what you're talking about, Lincoln, is you want to grab new clients and then, you know, have them hire you for your DJ business. That is so great to see. Want to say what's up to my man, You Do It, who is also giving a shout out to some of our favorites. Lily Tree is out there watching us right now. We got Sparky Boom logging in. I'm really glad that you guys are here today. I can see that we've got Scott Ayers, who is my partner in crime, says I walked in on paternity test. Well, hey, there's worse things you could have walked in on, my friend. And I think you dodged a bullet really at the end of the day. But I'm really glad that you guys are here today because we've got a guest on our show that I've been really wanting to interview for quite some time. He's really got a lot to say on the topic and really got a phenomenal bio. First, I want to kind of turn off these chat messages. I'm sort of running the whole thing today. But our guest today is a really, really powerful character. And so if you haven't decided if you're going to stick around today, if you're not sure what you want to do, what I want to invite you to do is just kind of like get comfortable and let this gentleman stimulate your cerebellum for like 10 minutes. And you tell me if you haven't had a life-changing experience. Our guest today is George Bryant. He's a New York Times best-selling author, podcast host, and one of the most highly sought-after digital marketing consultants in the world, folks. In the world. And he's helped hundreds of the largest companies and thousands of entrepreneurs ethically scale their businesses by creating transformational breakthroughs that help them to create their goals. Ladies and gentlemen, give a big round of applause for George, the man, Bryant. Pumped to have you on the show today, my friend.
Yeah, man. I got Maury Povich in the back of my head screaming, "You are the father" right now.
Yeah. That first of all, props on the Maury Povich. Like I'm gonna drop a Sally Jesse Raphael line later, and we're gonna do a Lisa Gibbons thing. It's gonna be amazing. But hey, for those in the audience that aren't familiar with your work, talk to us a little bit about what you do and how you got here.
Yeah, man, I love it. So the best thing I say is I help entrepreneurs ethically build and scale their business because people don't buy things from people that they don't like. And so my path to entrepreneurship, I tell people that I'm only successful because I'm stupid. And I mean that in the best way possible. I was an active duty Marine for 12 years, came from a pretty broken home, broken childhood. And so I ran away, learned how to pull a trigger for a living. And that consumed 12 years of my life, combat deployments, war, death, destruction, things along those lines. But I always felt called to something greater. And by a huge set of circumstances, after 12 years, I was injured one too many times, had traumatic brain injury, almost lost my legs. And I'd struggled most of my life with addiction and eating disorders. And I was like, enough is enough. I lost my dad. I lost all those close to me. And I was like, I got to beat this. And I didn't know how to do it by myself. And I was like, I'm going to teach myself how to cook. And I'm going to document it on the internet to hold me accountable. This was back in 2009, wow. 2010. And so I had to make a fake Facebook account with a fake college email because I didn't go to college. And that was back in those days. And then I just started posting recipes every day that I would cook to hold myself accountable. And I ended up doing that for, 7 years. And went through this whole journey, became a New York Times bestseller, #1 app in the world, built 1 million followers. And I was hiding in plain sight. So I broke really hard when my wife was 8 months pregnant. And I just disappeared off the internet for 3 years, deleted social, changed my phone number, changed my email. And I went on like this solo journey to become who I wanted to be. And I got to a point where my wife was like, hey, it's time for you to go back out into the world. But I wasn't passionate about cooking. I was passionate about helping people have an impact.
Yeah.
And so I turned all that around, the years of doing what I'd done, email marketing, affiliate marketing, and I started consulting some of the biggest companies in the world, Men's Health, Titleist, Adidas, sports teams, all the way down to solopreneurs. And I helped them all build and scale their businesses, sell tons of books, but all of it came from actually caring about their customers, building containers and customer journeys that made a difference and were aligned to who they wanted to be. And it wasn't about having a one-night stand. It was creating a legacy difference in a business. And so that brings me to today, and that's the shortest version I can give you.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you, one night stands have been a big part of my journey. But you know, we're not gonna go there, folks. And I'd appreciate it if you didn't ask again. But here's the thing I want to talk about with you is I want to talk about that customer journey because you know, it's this world that we live in where you're sort of broadcasting and you don't even know who you're talking to.
Yep.
Right? You kind of go out there and you start to see the same names pop up in the comment section, and then you start to get compliments from these people, and then it's like, well, I better sell them something, and so then you kind of go through that wonky process trying to get your sea legs, and next, you know, some of those people bought and some of them didn't. So I wanted to ask you, you know, this first question about what is this customer journey, and how do we go from like strangers to customers? How do we do that?
Yeah, dude, it's such a good question and one that needs to be talked about more. And so the first thing to understand is that a customer journey is not right now. It's not in this moment. It's not a one-time thing. Customer journeys are not linear. And so let me tell you what they are not first. They're not linear. They are not somebody hits this page, this piece of content, makes a decision and buys. It is more of a system or a node. It is a series of touch points in this ecosystem that allows somebody to identify that there's something in their life that's not working or working they want more of, discover what their options are, collect evidential touch points that like, oh, I like this dude, his humor's good, chooses to enroll, and then is held and nurtured on delivering that promise. And the average consumer takes anywhere from 26 to 125 touch points to go from I want a supplement, like knowing they want a whey protein or a sleep supplement, to actually spending $50. Or I want to learn about how to do YouTube correctly. This Owen guy is hilarious, but I don't know yet, from like touch point to touch point before they subscribe, and then from subscribing to intensive. And so what we have to understand is that a customer journey is not a one thing. It's not a one lever. It's a series of touch points over a period of time that allows somebody to become enrolled, shift their beliefs, want to take an action, and then choose to take that action. And so that's how I would define a customer journey.
Okay, so you mentioned that it's not linear, and I think that we're all kind of used to sort of that presentation, right, of the customer journey, where it's like first you got a free opt-in, and then they go to your email list, and then you upsell them, and then you put them on a landing page. Would you liken the customer journey to another shape? Or like, how can we I'm a really visual person. How do you visualize this customer journey in a way that's like consumable? Because when it's just like, oh, you do this, you do this, you do this, it's just like, you know, I don't have, where do I start? Where do I end? You know, talk to us about like what that looks like.
Yeah. So if I'm going to use a movie reference, I'd use The Truman Show, and I would have a lighthouse on land.
Oh,
and so your job is to create a world based on consistency and congruency, where your light shines out repeatedly with the same message to the same audience, guiding them closer. And then as they get closer, there's different parking spots on the pier. And so when I look at it, what I say is there's only 4 customer journeys that exist in the entire world that we have to solve for. There's only 4 of them. There's people that see our content and leave. I call them stuck in the Bermuda Triangle. There's people that see our content and want to learn more. I call them, I've picked the destination, right? Like I want to go to, you know, Spain, but I don't know a city. There's people that are like, you know what? I like what he's putting down. I've picked a port. Like I want to go to Owen's YouTube, or I want to opt in. Or smooth sailors, which people that buy. And so when we think about it, our job is to consistently and congruently spread our message, whether it's helping people with video or overcome a weight loss challenge or get into consistency or routine. And then when they have collected enough information or enough touch points, they have a very clear understanding of where to go next. And that's where simplicity really comes in. And so when I see this, it's like all you have to imagine is every time you do a YouTube video, every time you do a live stream, you do a piece of content, it's serving as a touch point for people to end up at one of those 4 places, to realize they do not like you or your sense of humor. And they're like, I'm out. That's just a no for right now. They'll probably be back, right? Or, hey, I like this. I'm not ready to opt in, or I'm not ready to buy yet. But you know what? I'm going to go read some more of your content. I'm going to go watch another one of your videos. Or they're like, I like what this guy's putting up. I want to automate my relationship. Here's my subscription. Here's my follow on Instagram. Here's my joining your group, or here's my email. And then I love this. This feels good enough for me. I'm ready to give you my credit card. So that is the best analogy that I can give you.
Okay. So, let's talk about these touch points, because I think this is where we get, like, a lot of us get sort of confused. Guys like you and me, we've been in the game for a little bit of time. And I think that you and I both can pop on a camera, even write a post. Yep. And we're just so full of data. It's just, I'll do this. I'll Instagram post, But for the average person, or for someone's just starting out, like, where do you have these touch points, and are they organized in a way to where it's like Monday touch point here, Tuesday touch point there? Or is it all from the gut? Like, what's your advice to that person?
So it's a great question. So the first thing is that the touch points come from your congruency, right? And so the biggest mistake I see people make is they don't know who they're talking to or what they're talking about. They're like, I want to help everybody, right? But at the end of the day, you have to know what it is that you do for congruency, right? So I tell you to build your lighthouse. Figure out your why, then figure out what you do and how you do it. And once you understand that, it's not about the strategy of what platform to be on. It's where are my ideal customers hanging out? And then how can I broadcast that consistently to them? And so people try to schedule out strategies and tactics, but they're all like feature benefit based, right? So the first thing is you have to know yourself, and then you have to know your customers, right? Where are they? Have they never made a video in their life? If they've never bought a supplement in your life? Whatever that is, you have to understand where you are and then where they are, so you can build a bridge between the two to help them get closer to you. And so the mistake I see people make is they go post before they even know what that bridge is like. And the bridge isn't necessarily an opt-in. It's not a lead magnet. It's not a sale. It's actually being able to speak to where they are and then tell them where they get to go. The medium doesn't really matter. And so the first thing that I say is that you have to know that. You have to know where your customers are, and then you have to know where you're going to take them. Once you have that clarity, then you're like, how can I help them get there? And you talk about beliefs, not feature benefits. Like, oh, I'm tired. Like, when's the last time, you wanted to end your day at 6, but you couldn't go to the arcade with your kids, and boom, boom, boom. And you identify how they're feeling, and you start to talk to them about it. And you might decide that your audience loves video. So you're like, cool, it's going to be video. Or they're analytical and they like to read. Cool, you're going to have to write. And so this comes from empathizing and understanding. And once you have those two, then you choose the platform. And for me, it really comes down to when you understand you and you understand them, you know what medium supports them, the platform and the cadence kind of dictates itself.
Yeah. It kind of like when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah. If we're going to, to be cheesy and cliche, it really is applicable, though. These metaphors have lasted for a reason.
How dare you? How dare you call me cheesy? By the way, does that, are you saying like an opt-in doesn't matter, or these just, are they like secondary assets?
They're secondary assets.
Okay. So you still do believe in having like a funnel system in place.
Yeah. But the problem is that everybody's like, oh, it's the funnel, or it's, oh no, like there's this concept. The reason ugly funnels convert, and this went around for years, wasn't because the funnel was ugly, because the decision was made before they got to the quote unquote funnel.
Yeah.
Your funnel, i.e. your opt-in or your lead magnet or your credit card transaction, its only job is to create a transaction, because nothing of value is delivered in there. It has to be the most minimally invasive part of the process, right? I watch people try to spend hours convincing somebody to opt in, and I was like, you're doing it in the wrong place.
Yeah.
If they get to that page, it should be for one purpose, to give you 2 seconds to type their email, hit submit, and then get into the promised land.
Yeah, they're already, like, by the time they get to the landing page, it's already, and I find that a lot of times it's not even about the ROS. Like, we offer an ROS guide. We have a YouTube streaming guide. but it's more about, I want to be in Owen's community.
Yep.
Like, I want to see what the email, like, I want to see what happens next after this. And so we talk a lot about, kind of like promoting that next step. If you guys have questions for George Bryant on how to grow your brand, how to create a customer experience, ask them in the chat area, in the comment area, whether you're watching us on Periscope, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or anywhere else on the web. We are using Restream.io to broadcast all over the web today. And we've got a really exciting topic, because I think that this is where a lot of people get confused. Now, George, you talked a lot about, you've mentioned belief and personality. You're like, oh, you said a couple times, you said, oh, Owen's hilarious. And I feel like you're right. I mean, I feel like when it comes, but here's the thing, is that we work on personality, because at the end of the day, there's 17 other YouTube coaches. And there's, maybe everyone has a little twist but we're all promoting what? Like, that you'll grow on YouTube. Talk to us about like the personality versus product divide, and how we can like deliver that message without sounding like a salesperson.
Yeah, dude, it's such a good question. You nailed this and embody this. The most important thing to remember is that no decision is logical. Everything that somebody does, a customer does, whether it's giving us their email, giving us their credit card, or giving us their attention, it might feel logical to them, but it's not. It's an emotional-based decision, and what they're really looking for is alignment, that they feel safe with what's going on. And so one of the things that you nail, and I'm actually call you out and use as an example, is at the end of the day, the only way that somebody can feel safe is if they authentically match what's going out there. And so you'll see these people that are putting out content, and you can literally tell it looks like somebody stuck a quarter up them and they're just repeating the same thing, but it's lacking the depth and lacking the connection and lacking the authenticity. And so the most important thing for everybody to remember is you have to be yourself. And that doesn't mean you have to be on camera. It could be in writing. It could be in, imagery, but you have to be authentic. You cannot pretend or try to be somebody else, because eventually the veil will get ripped away. And what we have to remember is that people are not looking for the perfect life. You're capturing their attention, but they're looking to feel safe. They're looking to be a part of something, because we have never, and I mean never, you've never had somebody give you $25,000 and be like, you know what? I don't trust you. Here's my credit card.
Right.
Or I don't think you have my best interest in mind. Take my money. And that can only come from a human. The reason I say relationships beat algorithms is because that's the core of it. That is at the true center of it. So if you know that you're funny and you're humorous, you figure out what that looks like for you. If you're on video or you're doing a podcast, just don't be afraid to use your personality, because people are collecting these touch points to trust you and move closer into your world.
Oh my gosh. See, this is so big. And I think this is like the big lesson that I learned going through my cancer experience, which I think a lot of you guys know about. Went through cancer some years ago, and even to this day, I'm still continuing to battle some of the side effects and the chemo and all those kinds of things. But what I learned, going through that period, was that just teaching what I know was unfulfilling, right? It's like, okay, well, great, I could teach you how to optimize a title, and I can teach you the steps to making a thumbnail. But what I really want to do is get on a call and laugh with you. In fact, who said it over here? It said Gadget Gecko said, I'm here for the humor. Everything else is a bonus. In the pre-show, when George and I were talking, we were just like, we got talking points, but let's have a good time. Because at the end of the day, we want you guys to enjoy this experience. And that I think is the big thing. So, dig into that with us a little bit, George Bryant, New York Times bestselling author, because I think it's really hard. Like we've got Costume Co. Heidi's out here today. We've got James Pruitt. We've got Tracy, who is saying I have neuropathy from chemo. Look, Tracy, I'm telling you, like I'm like doing this 3 times a week, just trying to get feeling back into my hands. So I absolutely empathize with that journey. But like how do you like, what's the process of letting your personality show? Because I mean, I'm not trying to knock anybody, but some people are drier than others. How do you and I were pretty big personalities. Like how do you, and Dean Nimmin, my man, logging in, like how do you unlock that personality, and how do you like twist or squeeze maybe a drier personality to get the good juice from it?
Yeah, well, the first thing is to realize if there's any juice in it. And this is where you have to be honest with yourself, right? Because not everybody is going to have this big personality. Not everybody's going to be over the top, and not everybody's going to be dry. But I'm going to tell you something right now. You cannot do something you do not enjoy. And so if you're looking at how to squeeze juice out of a fruit that you don't like, it's never going to work. And so the first thing is self-integrity, like learning the fact like, oh man, I actually do like being in front of people, whether it's with my words or with my art or with my video or with my voice. That is the number one thing, because misalignment is what kills more entrepreneurs than anything I've seen. They get exhausted, they crash, they have to disconnect, it gets crazy. And so the first thing is you have to realize, do I want to do this? And you can run multiple 7-figure businesses without ever being a face, but it has to come from who you want to be. And so if you decide I want to be this person, then what you have to look at is not who do I get to be for them? It's who do I get to be for me that I share with them.
Yeah,
and that's the biggest distinction. Like your TikToks, right? I love the ones that you do with your kids and the humor and all of it. But it's not like, you're not like, oh, let me be this dad to show these people on TikTok. You're like, I am this dad with my kids. I want you to laugh at who we are or what we're doing. And so as simple as it sounds, it really is, but it's complex if you ignore it. You have to be aligned. Like I can sit here all day, but like if at the end of the day, like if you're trying to lose weight and you hate going to the gym and your workouts are horrible and you don't like the food you're eating, you're never going to be able to maintain it. And this game, the game of marketing, the game of business, is a long game. You have to be willing and able to play it, which means you have to enjoy what you're doing, right? So if you tell me like, oh, I hate running, but I'm going to go run to lose weight, I'm going to be like, why don't you just go get on a bike and make this a lot easier?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so start there, like literally start there. And it's okay. Like, for example, I know somebody who literally loves being on video, but it just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. But their words when they write are so powerful and so eloquent and so sovereign is what I call them. And I was like, hey, you can go on video, but I just want you to write the thought down first. And we turned it into a daily email. And the daily email has generated more for the business than anything they've ever done. And then they just get to go play on video, not really expecting it to go anywhere, right? And so you have to know yourself. You have to know how to be effective. And at the end of the day, our job is to lead, even with humor, even with everything that we do. When we talk about building depth with our customers, when we talk about people coming into our world and staying, when we talk about people in community like this, the reason that they stay and that they engage is because they feel safe. Because they advocate a little bit of their results to us to hold them accountable. We create containers. We have structure. We give them beliefs and then say, hey, go do this. We're going to be here at this time. Show up here. And that consistency and authority creates depth because they feel safe. And so it's really important to remember all this stuff.
So are there like hard tactics that we can follow to do that? Is there like, for example, when I go live for this show, Stream Like You Mean It, like I do the same intro, every single time for that repetition's sake, so that you always know what show you're logging into. We say type 5 in the comment section to be a part of the tribe. It's the way we say hello. Like, what are some of the tactics that you can recommend? Because a lot of our audience, they're YouTubers and they're content creators. What are the things that they can do to create these deeper relationships in a real tactical way, right? Beyond like be yourself, like
totally.
How do you be yourself?
No, I love it. I love it. And it's really a good question. I'll share an example here. And this is how it matters. So YouTube, content creators, video people, one of the biggest mistakes we make is we just keep going. We just think everybody's here with the popcorn, like they're going to keep consuming, they're going to keep consuming. But when we keep going, we prevent them from implementing what we taught them, which means we're actually making them worse off than when they started. And so this is where intentionality matters. And I say consistency and congruency, because can you imagine if you drove by a billboard and you saw Nike's advertisement that said, just do it. But then the next one said, maybe do it. And the next one said, don't do it, or I'll do it next week. It wouldn't work, right? And so what you have to understand is that even if you have the best message and you're like a freestyle video person like Owen and I, you still have to put a container and structure around it for it to be implementable, because people feel safe with a plan. And so if you're creating content, create consistency, have your hook, do your introduction, give them an overview, but then give yourself a container. Like, I'm going to be teaching you these 3 things. And then you teach the 3 things and you wrap them up. Now, if one thing wants to go for 5 minutes and 5 and 5, that's fine. Or 1, 1, 1. But I use keynotes as examples all the time, right? I was like, if everybody just wanted the content, or if information was the secret, everybody would be rich, happy, and literally healthy.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's the delivery. It's the mechanism. But if we go watch keynotes or videos, 9 out of 10 times they're delivering 3 takeaways, but yet they do it in an hour. Every single time. And so it's literally, here's my hook, here's my story, here's my credibility, here's my overview of the talking point, here's the talking point, here's the transition. But the structure, no different than a book. A book follows the same principles. And so your tactic is to take your genius and put it into a structure, put it into a process that's easy for people to follow. So when they're done, they can implement it and then come back for the next nugget.
Yeah, so that's really big. I talk a lot in our YouTube Authority Intensive. We talk a lot about structure. In fact, it's one of our 4 pillars, because when you log into an episode of The Office, and we've all watched The Office, right? Multiple times, right? When you watch an episode of The Office, right, it's the same basic format, right? It opens with a joke, and then it goes into the theme song, and then it comes right back into the show where they plot develop, and then there's a commercial break. And every episode falls into that line. And yet at the same time, every episode is vastly different, right? And so it's almost like when people log into your content, whether it's a blog post, a Facebook Live, a YouTube Live, a pre-recorded YouTube video, or a webinar, you want to like let them know their structure, but you don't necessarily have to tell them what the structure is, right? Like, well, next I'm going to talk about my company story, you know. And I feel like I see like a lot of entrepreneurs doing this, like you're telegraphing what's next, which then kind of creates this boredom, whereas as opposed to just kind of running your system. So what kind of structure, like, what are your thoughts on that?
Dude, you nailed it. And stay on with me for this one, because you nailed this. I watch your content, right? And I know what you teach, and I love this. But the thing is you nailed it. You don't want to tell them their structure. You want to make them feel like their structure, right? Crystal clear communication, clarity, right? Like, it doesn't matter what it looks like. All that matters is that they feel it. And one of the things here, and one of the mistakes YouTubers make all the time, is they tell people it's ending. Right? Like, oh, it's going to end, or it's this one thing. I was like, oh, well, you just lost them, right? No, the thing is to take them on a journey. Like, if you literally opened a book and you read the intro and they told you the ending, it's game over.
Right.
You're going to put the book down. You're like, got it, right? I would have bought the Cliff Notes for this. And so you have structure. So like when I teach my students, when I do all this, I'm like, hey, if you're going to do a live video, if you're going to do any piece of content, just before you go live, all I want you to write on a sticky note is your hook, takeaway 1, takeaway 2, takeaway 3, and wrap. And that's it. If you have nothing else and you even go on a tangent, I'm like, if you end 17 minutes down a rabbit hole and be like, and that's how it applies to principle 1, and then move to principle 2.
Yeah.
Like you just want to be able to, and container is the word I use, right? So we talk about touch points earlier, and this has been an open loop since we mentioned it, the Zygarnik effect, for everybody wondering about what does a touch point look like. Well, really what it is, like, this video might be 80 touch points for somebody, depending on what we talked about, the beliefs that we have. We might be just ringing true in their soul, or it might be 1. And that is determinant on them. But what's the most important is that it's consistent and it follows a story. It follows an evolution, or it has a container. When we start, this is what we're going to talk about. No matter what we hit in the middle, what meat, what story, what humor, what reference, at the end, we're like, hey, all of that stuff is how it applied to this. Here's your next step. And we put a container around it. So even if it was only 1 touch point, they're like, God, every time I watch Owen, I know there's going to be structure. I know he's going to guide me. There's going to be stuff in there for me to learn. And that container is the best part. And so hard lines when you're planning. If you're going to go live, don't tell them, but tell yourself, like, I'm stopping at 30. I'm going for 15. I'm hitting these 3 points. So that intentionality rings through on what it feels like on the other side.
You know, I think of it a lot like, you know, like infants, right? We both have kids. We've raised them since they're young. You know, when that baby doesn't feel safe, the baby cries.
Yes.
And so what does mom do? Like, that's why we swaddle them, right? Because they can't move. They feel safe. They're warm. And, you know, we got to treat our customers this way. And not, customers is a big term. Subscribers are our community, right? Because only at a purchase point do they actually become customers. But if you're logging in, they're logging in and they don't know where the heck you're going. Or, and this, guys, I made this mistake, like I started my YouTube channel talking about like website, like WordPress and SEO, and then kind of change the container without any fanfare. I was like, oh, maybe they won't notice, But what happens is that people are going, what in the hell, Bobby? Like, what just happened? I thought this guy was an SEO channel. And I see a lot of entrepreneurs doing this right now. And tell me, George, I see a lot of them bragging about it. And this is what really concerns me is I see these, maybe like approaching 6 or multi-6-figure entrepreneurs going like, well, today I'm going to talk about Trump. And I shouldn't even have said his name, but today I'm going to talk about politics because it matters to me, But here the thing is, like, you've built this whole platform on blogging. And so now what you're doing is you're kind of like, and I'm not saying don't talk about those things, but I'm saying you've got to create container, right? Like you got to create structure where it says like, hey guys, I'm really passionate about SEO, but I'm also really passionate about this political thing. And I'm going to sort of interweave it into the presentation. Like what is your advice for the entrepreneur? And let's just like leave politics out of it.
Yeah, please.
Maybe it's health and nutrition, right? Again, maybe you've built this whole brand on drywall, right? Shout out to Paul Peck. But let's just say you're a drywall guy. But now, because you lost 35 pounds, now you're going to start talking about vegan keto.
Yeah.
Right? Like what is your advice to that person who says like, hey, I want to start adding, this new platform into my container?
I love this question and it's so good. And I learned this lesson the hard way and now do it the right way. So the biggest thing is managing expectations and also transitions. So the beautiful thing about containers is if your container, and I'll use drywall because that's the example you gave.
Yeah.
If your container is drywall and you're helping people doing drywall correctly how to drywall their homes, but you're having this personal journey, you can be talking about drywall and sharing that journey. But if you want to start talking about vegan keto, as a drywaller, you have one of two options. Number one is you set expectations that you're launching this other channel because this is a passion. You're still going to be coming here. But if you're interested in learning more, then you come over here. Or two, you stay on your channel and you let them know, hey, this is really important. I'm going to be talking about vegan keto, but one of the things we've really been hitting is about you having the physical strength and stamina to do drywall correctly to make more money. And so I'm going to talk about vegan keto, but I want you to pick something in your health and nutrition to apply the same principles to. So now that we can do this correctly, we can help you scale your business, make this the long way. And so I'm going to talk about how your sleep matters, your stretching matters, your hydration matters, and I'm going to be eating vegan keto. But what I want you to do is pick paleo, pick primal, pick gluten-free, and follow along with me. And so you either have to make it a part of what you do by getting to the principle, not the wrapping paper, right? Get to the gift inside, which is consistency or nutrition, or you have to build a second world and invite them to come over with you.
Yeah, I love what you just said there. It's like building that bridge that says, like eating this way makes me a better drywaller. Yes. And, that could be really challenging to do. I think the biggest question that I get from my mastermind group is, how do I do that? Right. And it's on any number of questions. It's like, well, you got to write a better title. Well, how do I do that? Well, you got to make a better thumbnail. Well, how do I do that? And it's like, well, you gotta bridge that divide because there might be multiple different elements of you that make your content unique. And I'm a big believer in like, if politics is important to you, then you should consider adding it. If diet or spirituality and faith is important to you, you should find ways to add it. But I think you got to avoid I'm going to talk about God today and drywall tomorrow, right? Yes. That just kind of like throws people off, right?
Yes, that's why I talk about consistency. You have to transition, which is why containers are so important. So yes, the thing is that you have to earn the right to change the game.
That's good.
And so when I say this, it's like, hey, if you go play football, that's great. If you want to go play baseball, that's awesome. But you can't jump the field in the same pads and go play the game. You have to end the game or you have to leave the game and then you have to transition people over.
Yeah.
And so you have to do this. No matter what you do, you have to do this. But I will tell you, the mistake that I see people make is that they try to stay really broad to get everybody's attention, but attention does not create depth.
Oh my gosh, that's so big, man. Yeah, like, and broad, you know, like if you're selling sponges at Walmart, right, then mass market, of course. But in the internet space, like, you got to have your niche. And I think in a lot of cases, you got to have that niche in a niche. And you know what? Being the healthy drywaller, to me, that's a winning YouTube channel right there.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking to a real estate agent who's like, her whole thing is you don't need a man to buy real estate. And so she's really targeting divorcees and single women. And I'm like, I told her, I'm like, that is a winning YouTube channel. It's not just a niche, but you've actually got like a sub niche in there. And I want to dig into that. But first, I want to get Tracy's question. Can you put Tracy's question up? We have some great questions coming in. We'll do Tracy, and then we'll go to Curiosity Theory, my man Martin. So Tracy is asking, my business is digital marketing. I create videos, chatbots, QR codes. Should I only focus on one of those at a time? George Bryant, your thoughts?
I love this. And no, you need to focus on the after state and use those as modalities to get them there.
Oh, it's so big.
So if you try to sell videos or chatbots or QR codes, you're selling features and benefits, but you're missing the after state. What is it that those things help them do? Communicate with their customers at scale, automate their touch points, double their business, increase customer retention. And then you're like, hey, I empower entrepreneurs to increase customer retention. They're like, oh my God, I'm in. And you're like, how? You're like, I have this 3-step process. And you're like, we're going to use a chatbot, a video, and QR code. And so don't make the tool the solution. You have to remember, a hammer is just a tool to give somebody a house. You need to sell the house, and then the tools are how you get them there. And so don't limit yourself by like, I only do chatbot. Go deeper into the principle of like, I help you communicate with depth with your customers.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Yeah. And Tracy, you know, there's such power in your titles, right? Whether you're live streaming or you're blogging or you're uploading YouTube videos, you know, that's the how to get customers with chatbots, right? And then video 2 is how to get customers with video, right? And then it's how to get customers with QR codes, right? And what you're doing is you're building this library, what we call a body of work that all has this phraseology, how to get customers. And so you're generating, you know, the same audience that wants to learn the different tactic. And what I see a lot of entrepreneurs doing is they're saying like how to make better video. And then it's how to make a good chatbot. You know, and what you're doing is you've got this one audience you're bringing in on chatbots, but then you're bringing in this video creator audience on the other side. And so what happens is when you make that third video about live streaming, you're appealing to nobody. Yeah. Right. But if everything is couched or titled in the language of how to get customers or how to do X, then you're developing an audience of people that all share that need. And they're going to be dry cleaners. They're going to be coaches. They're going to be fitness people. They're going to be drywallers. You know, but they're all interested in that same thing. That's a great question. And we are so close. We had a goal today of hitting 60 live viewers. We hit 59, guys. We're so close. Share this out with your friends right now. Tag someone who needs to hear this conversation. Let's get this up to 60 viewers. Now, my good friend Martin, I think, is asking, I think, a really great question. And I think it's a question we probably like all have a lot on our minds, because just to give you some background, Martin he's in real estate, but he's also got a book called The Curiosity Theory about staying curious. You know, stay curious, my friends. And now he's asking, how do I build a personal development page? And so as you answer this, George, I wanted to give you that background on Martin. And Martin, I hope it's okay that I shared that, because it's a challenge, right? When like everyone kind of knows you as the real estate guy, but you're trying to pivot online to reach this national audience. George Bryant, what would be your advice for someone like Martin?
You have to leverage your existing relationships first. So then I would talk about how personal development can help people in real estate. And I would start there. And so that's a natural bridge that exists. And so rather than go out and try to start something from scratch, look at what you know. Like, how can and I don't know if you're in real estate sales or flipping or coaching or investing, but no matter what, there's humans. And so how can what you know in personal development help them be better at what it is that they do, which your niche is sitting right in front of you as your warm transition over into a new world. And so you figure out how your personal development can help realtors or real estate agents or people flipping properties be better at what it is that you're helping them do. And that becomes your beta group or your bridge over into the personal development world. You build a process, a structure, a system. And then once you've nailed realtors, they're naturally going to spread your message and you can get into principles or attracting somebody else. But that's the easiest way that I would do it.
Yeah, I think that's really good too, is like leveraging that audience over there into the personal development audience, and then using that as a springboard for moving forward. Martine, it's so great to see you here. We've been buds for a long time. We've done presentations together. It's always good to see you here. Now we've got Dippery Studios is asking, how often should I post? And Dippery's a YouTuber, and so I'd love to kind of tag team this with you, George. But
please, I want you go first.
All right. Well, I think when it comes to YouTube and like how often should you post, I think Costume Co. had a great sort of answer here, and there is no magic number. The question is, how often can you consistently post quality content? And that would be, my answer as well, is that when it comes to posting content, you have to like set a standard for yourself of like every show must be of this quality. Now you can have like, just like your YouTube channel is its own channel, the same way channel 2 is its own channel, right? And what happens when you turn on channel 2 at 8 o'clock in the morning, right? It's daytime TV, right? It's the talk show. It's like, hey, welcome to the channel 2 talk show, where today we're talking about garbage, but then what happens after at 11 o'clock? Now it's soap operas. It's a whole different show. And then what happens at prime time? It's Seinfeld reruns. Then what happens at nighttime? It's the news, right? So just like channel 2 has multiple shows, your YouTube channel can have multiple shows. So let's say that once a week you post really, really good content, but then on Fridays you go live, right? You have 2 different types of content, but you have to make sure that there's consistency around that content. My biggest advice to any content creator is 1 solid video per week. 1 solid video per week. And if you can do, like, once that's clockwork, once that's like you're not even breaking a sweat, let's add a second show. And maybe it's a second video of the same quality. Maybe it's like Peter McKinnon, one of my favorite creators, does these 2-minute tips. Now they're 5 minutes, but he does jokes in the beginning and jokes at the end, but the bulk of the video is only 2 minutes. Yep. But every video follows that same process. So when it comes to really video creation, 1 solid video per week, and do that for a year before you try to do anything more glorious. George Bryant, your thoughts on how often should we post?
Yeah, I love it. The thing is you need to set yourself up to win. So I'm going to say this right now. The moment you post consistently and stop, you've lost all the trust and safety that people gain. Like Friends and Seinfeld would never be Friends and Seinfeld if they missed episodes, dropped them on different days and times. So consistency, but also you need to set the game up so you enjoy doing it and you build momentum. And as you build momentum, you'll become more efficient. And once you become more efficient, you use that time that you've created to then amplify your results. And I'm going to say something that most people won't say. One of the mistakes people make is they create too much content, which devalues your content.
So big.
It devalues your content. You have 2 choices in content creation. You either create assets or you create liabilities. But if you're pumping video after video, you're never promoting it, you're not disseminating it, you're not breaking down the ideas, you're not doing static posts from it, you're not writing belief shifting descriptions that go with it, the only thing you're doing is creating a liability in your business. Because if you only use it once, it's a liability. If you use it multiple times, it's an asset. And all of you creators have goals and dreams and geniuses inside of you that will stand the test of time. So take the time to make an asset and don't be afraid to post a video and then do a couple static posts with each individual section of that video in a text post, sending them back to the video.
Yeah, it's really big. I think of it like being in a life raft in the middle of the ocean, and you've got these messages in a bottle, right? Like when you're just cranking out video, but you're not taking the time to sort of place that video on the bulletin boards of the web, what you're doing is you're filling your raft with those bottles, right? And what you need to do is put the message in a bottle and throw it out. put the message in the bottle, and throw it out. Otherwise, you're just taking on water. And, my friend Jay Bear over at Jay Bear's company, talks a lot about the biggest problem that content marketers have. And by the way, if you're watching this, you're a content marketer. You create content. And one of the biggest problems we have is actually marketing it. That's the biggest problem, is you make it and it's there, but it's not going out into the world where it can grow and it can germinate, and take root in someone's heart or in someone's mind, where they can use it and actually change their business.
Yeah, the thing I want to say this, because I'm like, there's only 3 colors of crayons in my box of 64. Like, I'm not the sharpest one, so I keep it really dull for myself with metaphors. But the thing is, if you're a custom home builder, building the home was step like 1% of the journey. You then have to sell it. If you build a car, your work doesn't end when it gets off the assembly line. Nobody knows it exists and nobody's there. When you create a good piece of content, it doesn't stop. When you post it, that's when the game starts.
Yeah.
And then your job is to go be the realtor, breaking that content down, exchanging that content, sharing that content.
That's so big. When you make that piece of content, what we'll do is we put it in an Excel file, and we have we have this Excel file called sales tools, right? So now when we're in conversations with people, whether it's in the DMs or in the comment area, or even in just a Facebook group, and someone asks a question, it's like, I just did a video on that. You grab the link and you say, hey, I just did a video on this. I'm going to post the link, but I hope it's not spammy, but just check it out. It might be very helpful for you. And you're using that video over and over and over again, even to the point of texting people,
I do it.
I might see Martine say something and I go, oh, I might just text and be like, hey, Martine, I did a video on that the other day. Here it is, and I think a lot of YouTubers, people in my space, they go, yeah, but that's one view. But I'm telling you guys, like, that one view, that could be the brand deal. That one view, that could be the big customer, or that one view could be the guy with a 30,000 person email list that blasts your video out, causes virality, and now you're monetized. You know what I mean? Like, treat every single view as the one that's going to get you over the edge. I want to thank Dupree for that question and answer this question. What are some good cameras to use? Look, I'm going to answer this really, really quickly. There are only 2 types of cameras. There's a camcorder and there's a DSLR. Now, underneath those, you have a variety of different options. But a camcorder is what I'm using right now. It's 4K and it's always in focus. Notice that there's no blurry background, right? But here's the thing. I can move wherever I want. I'm always in focus. It never overheats. It never shuts down. I've had this camera for 2-3 years, and I've left it on I went on vacation. I left the whole thing on, plugged in to the power on the whole time. It still works like a charm. A lot of value in a camcorder, but you lose your cinematic look. Now, DSLR, you got a ton of different options. I'm going to recommend the Canon M50 with the Sigma 16 lens. That's going to run you $1,000, $1,300, but you're going to have cinema quality video. So you got to make that decision, right? Do you want to spend $500 or $1,500? Because really, you could buy a DSLR for $500, but without a lens, camcorder, you don't need a lens. So it's a give and take. But remember that, guys, there's only 2 types of cameras. And that's really all you got to think about.
And I think there's only one, and it's the one that you'll actually pick up and use.
That's a great point too, right? Because I learned a long time ago that ISOs and apertures, like, that's not my game. Like, my game is delivery, right? And so you like, what are you using right now? Because you're crystal clear.
I'm using a Logitech Brio 4K webcam, and I use it for everything.
Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And Logitech is a phenomenal brand. I have a Logitech C920, actually 2 of them, and one I keep in my go bag, and that's
one of those 2
with me. So, I think that you got to use the camera you're going to use. So we've got some more questions here. Yep. And I want to keep asking. And Christopher Bobin, I think we sort of answered this, but I'd love to get, George, your take on this. Can you have multiple shows in 2 different languages on one YouTube channel? And George, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it really depends on the goal. It really, really depends on the goal, right? So I say this to my students: you have to earn the right to complicate your business. You have to earn the right to complicate your business. So it would be easy to say, oh, have 1 or have 2, but that depends on you, the capabilities of yourself and your team. I'm going to say, put it on 1 and treat it like a second show. And then when it needs or dictates a second channel because there's promise or there's another reason to benefit it, then to do it. But you need to keep it simple, and you have to earn the right to complicate your business.
Yeah, that's really big. And I'm actually going to stand on the opposite side, and Chris, and say, no, absolutely not, because that's a Dutch audience. And this is specific to YouTube, specific, because you're going to have a Dutch audience versus a Western audience, an English audience. And nary shall the two meet. You know what I mean? You really need to be in a place where you've got your English show and you've got your Dutch show. But there's no reason, Chris, that you can't do the Dutch show. Well, I would do the English, because we talked about this she's actually one of my students in the video marketing.
Got it.
So, we talked about this, is that focus on the English speaking crowd first, because the size of that audience is in the billions, where the Dutch audience is probably hundreds of thousands, maybe in the low millions. And at the end of the day, when you cross-reference how many of those are actually watching YouTube and interested in the content, it's a very, very small audience. So we never go after the small audience first. Go after the big audience first. Keep them up. But you can do the English channel and then just voice it over in Dutch. You don't even need to do the video again. But I'll tell you, one of the things that I would love is I would love to be repurposing my content in Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
I'd absolutely love to be doing that. That's obviously takes resources that we don't have. But I see teacher Paul at Hard Boiled English thinking the same thing. Paul, keep doing what you're doing, Paul. You're on the right. You don't need to mix that up. Like George is saying, you don't need to complicate your business in that way. Mm-hmm. We got another great question from one of my good buddies who I have not seen in the longest time, since I was expelled from high school. Just kidding. We've seen each other since then. But my buddy is asking questions about live streaming. Do they hurt your channel growth? I have heard mixed feelings on this from several bigger channels. The reality is that I think live streaming is incredible for your channel. Absolutely incredible. That doesn't mean that you keep them public once you go live. You know what I'm saying, bro? Go live and keep it up for a week and then maybe take it away. Some of my best performing live streams that got me tons of subscribers, I put in the title, 24 hours and it's over. And those did incredibly well. So I would take a look at doing a live stream, seeing how it performs, because really what the question is this. I go live for an hour. People only watch 10 minutes. Does that drag my channel down? But flip side of that, 10 minutes can often be longer than the average 4 minutes that they're watching on your 10-minute uploads, right? So there's a big part of that question that I think is answered there. But for you and with what you do, I would absolutely be going live, and I would make it a regular part of your complete breakfast. Now, we got a hard stop coming up here. So, George, I want to ask you that question in more of a general sense with live streaming in general. Maybe not just as it applies to YouTube, but as it applies to sort of the business realm. Is live streaming a viable tool, and what's the best way to use it?
It is. I've generated over $10 million personally from live streaming in the last 6 years. And the best way to use it is to use it as often and frequently as possible for you to connect with your audience and it to serve a purpose. And when the algorithm on Facebook broke, everyone's like, it doesn't work anymore. I live streamed every day for 280 days and gained 200,000 fans, had video views with 5.6 million views. One video made $500,000 and I didn't sell anything.
Wow.
We just DM'd all 6,000 comments and they all wanted to join our world. And so you never know. And I'm going to tell you something right now. The thing to remember, you said this earlier, that one view. Yeah. Your channel with 1 million views was built by 1,000,001 views.
That's so big.
And so every one of them, like the thing that I forget to remind people of as entrepreneurs is you can have your idols, you can have the people you idolize, but you have to remember they're in their after state and you're in your before state. And if you go back 6 years and look at where they were on day one, like Mr. Beast, perfect example.
Yeah.
That didn't start there. And so you have to put in the practice because success is just practice. That's all it is.
Really?
It's focused, consistent practice. And then you'll earn the right to get there. So I echo everything you said. Live stream, connect with your audience. And like on YouTube, like you said, try it. pull it down, make it exclusive, use it to connect, but you have to try all of these things instead of planning. You can plan to run a marathon all day, but until you put your shoes on and get on the pavement, you're not going to run any faster.
Yeah, that's really big. George, I know you got to go. I'm going to stick around and answer a few more questions, hang out with you guys, but how do we follow you and stay in touch with what you're doing?
Yeah, I love it. I'll make it really easy because my mind is crazy and belongs in a straitjacket for a little humor. So I make it easy. Just go to mindofgeorge.com. I have a podcast I release 3 times a week. I talk about this stuff. I teach it for free. I have a Facebook group, but it's all linked at mindofgeorge.com, or you can just search on your favorite podcast platform, The Mind of George Show.
Well, that looks fantastic, bro. Thanks so much for coming on and for being a part of the show today. I know you got places to go and people to impress, so go do your thing.
Thanks for having me.
For our guests, it's a pleasure to have you here, and we'll definitely have you back on, and we'll talk again more in the future. Guys, I'll tell you, it is so wonderful to have these kinds of guests on and really just like, stimulating new conversation. And Marcus, Marcus, who asked the question about live streaming, I really think that live stream, like that's why we're live on my channel, right? It's just is engagement and getting people used to the fact that I'm like a real person and we're here to go back and forth. I think the thing, Mark, too, is like, you don't need to teach, just answer questions, tell jokes. I'm going to reveal, Marcus Campbell is a phenomenal magician. And I remember being at your house. We were like 14, 15 years old. And you were showing me some of your magic tricks. I still think about that to this day because that's presentation. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying go on your channel and do magic tricks. What I am saying is go and just be with your audience. Just be with your audience and shuffle cards and show them what you know how to do and be there for them. It goes back to that child analogy, right? Like raising your kids. It's the same thing with your audience. Like be there for your audience. I'll tell you one thing that really kills me is seeing all of these great comments come in. Like I'm seeing Lily Tree, and I'm seeing Josephine, and I'm seeing Costume Co, and I'm seeing Juicy Detox. Like I wish that I could just chat with you guys. But I'm like trying to host a guest and like play the comments and do all the things. I can't always do what I want to do. But I'll do it the best I can because I love being here with you guys. Seesaw's asking a great question that says, what is Twitch? Twitch is a live stream platform, not unlike YouTube, okay? But Twitch is largely for the gaming community. Now, it's not all gaming. My friend Molly Mahoney streams on Twitch. My friend Stephanie Liu streams on Twitch, and they do business content. But I'm telling you that the built-in audience is more of a gaming audience, and that's what Twitch built their reputation on. So we've got another question that's like, is Twitch like TikTok? No, far from it. TikTok is something that TikTok is a vertical platform. It's under a minute. It is my favorite platform, and I think that everybody should be trying to do. Like, I think that everybody should be using TikTok as a trailer for their bigger content. You know what I mean? Like, I think that it's a bad idea to try to sort of like be an expert on TikTok. Like, today I'm going to teach you how to da-da-da-da-da. But I love what D Nimmin does, right? Like D will just give you like how to use your iPhone this way. For click this, click this, click this, click this. Done. Now you watch that and you're like, I didn't get that. But you got to watch it again, and you loop it, and you loop it, and you loop it, and that's what really helps it to take off. Okay, so we got this great question here. Yeah, TikTok is like Vine. It definitely is like Vine, and Vine was amazing. In fact, guys, Vine was my biggest mistake. When Vine came out, who remembers Vine, by the way? When Vine came out, I was making skits, and I was doing some of the funniest stuff I'd ever done. But I also had like 2 new babies. I had recently lost the last job I ever had. And so I was really serious about being an entrepreneur. And I was like, I can't do skits. I have to do like really serious stuff. Well, my good buddy, a guy named David Lopez, who his wife actually worked for me at the time. They were just dating, but he became a TikTok. I mean, it's Juan. It's David Lopez. If you're not familiar, he's massive. He's huge. And I watched him succeed and kind of had to go with like, damn, that could have been me. You know what I mean? Or I could have at least risen with him, but I chose the safe route, and I will not do that again. Right now with TikTok, I'm going back into the skits, and we're going to build our career as comedians. And we're going to continue to grow the video marketing school and the Restream show. And we're going to be as funny as we can, because that's what we like to do. Okay. So, love to see that D Niman is still here, listening in the background. He's even got some magical words for us, like Shazam, bam. I love it. By the way, guys, we did hit over 60 viewers, which is really exciting. So thank you guys for being a part of that. And if you guys got questions, I'm going to stick around and just answer your questions and just hang out with you, because we're all here to grow together. So Liv Fuller with Love Fuller says, how do you know whether to take the live stream down or keep it up? The answer is analytics. And this is, I think, a challenge that I see for all sorts of creators, is you're not looking at your analytics. In fact, I was in a channel yesterday, 650,000 subscribers. Okay. I was inside their analytics, and the conversation, I hope I'm not being too revealing, but the conversation was this: we know everything about organic growth. That was the conversation. So it was like, oh, and take a look at our channel, but we already know everything about organic growth. And when I got in there and I looked at their numbers, I could tell that they don't know anything about organic growth. That doesn't mean their channel's not growing. Okay. It only means that they're just barely staying alive. But I'm looking at the videos that make the most money, and they made one of them. It's like, how about making 10 more of those? I saw the videos that got them the most subscribers. They made 2 of them. And so when you ask about like whether you should take your live streams down or not, like, you've got to be in a place where you're looking at the analytics and you say, did this help the channel grow? Because I think we all worry about weighing the channel down, right? So if you go live for an hour, but you're only pulling in 10 minutes average watch time, you're thinking, oh man, it's only 13% watch time. But it's, and forgive my numbers, I'm just like spitballing with you, but that's 10 absolute minutes of watch time. Okay. Versus you make a 10-minute video and you're only getting 3 minutes or 4 minutes. You might go, well, that's 30%. That's twice the percentage, but it's only 4 absolute minutes. Well, then I would say that live streams are helping to grow your channel. Okay. And maybe keep them up there for a month. Now, if you notice that you're doing these live streams and your channel's like slowing down and nothing's ranking and you're just noticing atrophy, well, then now you might want to unlist them at this point. Okay. But the point is this, is that you don't go into it making the decision. You go into it ready to look at the numbers, right? We often talk about there's no such thing as a good thumbnail or a bad thumbnail. There's only a thumbnail that got a 10% click-through or a thumbnail that got a 5% click-through, right? And you might be going like, oh, well, my thumbnail only got 5%. It sucks. Maybe, or maybe the topic matter at this point in time is not such that would require or generate 10%, right? Like there's all of these different things you have to configure. And if you want to be a part of an organization that will teach you how to do this, then enroll in thevideomarketingschool.com. Just go to thevideomarketingschool.com. We have 2 great options for you to enroll. You can enroll for a monthly fee, or you can just pay for a lifetime fee and you're in for the rest of your life. And that gives you access to all of our courses. We have over 100 hours, 17 modules of video marketing training, plus a private paid members only Facebook group, plus a monthly call on Zoom, members only. It is not open to the public, where you can ask questions and get, personal and private feedback. So, I say you got to look at the numbers, and that, I'll tell you, from me, it came from not looking at the numbers for years. And who really helped me with that is D Niman's brother, Nick, who is a good friend of mine and someone that I can always go back to and say, hey, what should I do? What should I do next? Penrod Media is saying, how can a business use TikTok? Say a pizza biz. I mean, that, oh my gosh, Penrod, like that's a piece of cake. If I ran a pizza company, especially in this day and age of COVID and takeout, like I would be crushing it on TikTok. And here's I would show the elements of the business. You know, I would show flipping the pizza dough, right? I would do a stop motion making how to make a specialty pizza. I would do a thing where you make 5 pizzas and you go hand slices out at Skid Row or to the homeless community. And it's all just like fast motion. It's all just like 7 clips under 15 seconds. You say, hey, everybody, today we're making 5 pizzas and we're feeding the homeless. Let's go. And you it's fast motion. You make the pizza. And then it's just you handing a slice to a homeless guy, handing a slice to another homeless person, handing a slice to a homeless person. And at the very end of the video, you say, hey, how can you give back? Let us know in the comment section below. And you're out, right? I see another one where you've got this pizza dough in front of you and you put pizza sauce on front of it, and then you make a smiley face and you use the Bob Marley song, Don't Worry, Be Happy. You know, like here's the thing with TikTok is like the micro elements of your business is what it's all about. Show people something they don't normally get to see. You know, yeah, I would put your mobile phone not in the oven, but next to the oven, and fast motion the pizza being cooked and the cheese bubbling, and show people what it looks like to have, pizza bubble up. I mean, there's so much stuff that you could do there. I think what you have to do is stop thinking. I really do. I really think you just got to stop thinking about it. You know, I'm doing a skit with my son today for TikTok where it's called Dr. James. And they're not even like that. They're not even performing that well. You know, they got like 15,000 views. Like some of you guys are like, oh, 15,000, you punk. But, you know, like we want to be getting 200,000 views on a video. But I'll tell you what, it's fun. I don't have to think about it. And in this particular video, he's going to diagnose me with Batman. He's like, I'm sorry, you've come down with a case of Batman. And I think the punchline is going to be really funny, but it's just fun for us. And you know what we do is we're trying to show that this is who we are, like George was saying. I'm not trying to look at what a great dad I am. Like I don't need to do that. Instead, I just be a dad, right? And my wife gets kind of like, she gets upset sometimes because she's like, you just made fun of the kids on or like I was doing this deadbeat dad, like this drinking dad bit, and they were our most popular videos, by the way, millions of views. And she goes, I don't like you pretending to be this drunken dad. And I go, but here's the thing. Number one, I don't drink. And number two, I'm actually filming videos with my kids. You know what I mean? Like the audience knows, right? Yeah, it's a bit, but it's like he's hanging out with his kids. He's being a dad. So Penrod, be a pizza company on TikTok. That's it. Be a pizza company. And whatever comes to your mind, do it. Don't think about it. Just put them up there. And I think that you're going to watch it grow really fast here. So we've got another thing. Juicy Detox says, my 18-year-old keeps saying I would be TikTok famous fast if I started a detox related TikTok. My dad and I, and my whole family, actually, we started a plant-based diet. So we're not calling ourselves vegan, but we are doing plant-based diets. Like we're way into this, like living our best life kind of thing. My dad gets all of his recipes from TikTok, all of them. So he goes and he like finds good TikTok vegan recipes, and then he'll Google it. He'll Google the ones he actually wants to make. But I would agree, Juicy, that if you were to do like juice recipes and quick stuff like that, I think that you would do extremely well. Mark is asking, does the video marketing school have an affiliate program? Absolutely, bro. Reach out to me and we can work something out. Lily Tree is saying, does this count as the after party? It does. This is sort of the past the Cavassier, because this is our after party. Well, hey guys, it's been a blast streaming with you today, and I want to remind you that we are streaming every single Monday at 1 p.m. Mountain Time. That's 12 p.m. Pacific Time. And we are multicasting on YouTube, Restream, Periscope. And so I see a lot of you guys are like, oh, there's only this many viewers, or oh, there's that many viewers. We did phenomenally well today, right? Because we're grabbing aggregate viewers. But here's the thing. Whether or not we have 1 viewer, 5 viewers, or 1 million viewers, our goal is to deliver great content in real fun ways. And we have, like, this show is just beginning. This is our 3rd episode. We have more episodes coming, and we are building out graphics. We are building out special effects. What you're going to see on this show, once again, for those of you guys that don't really know me, my work has been featured as foundational in moving live streaming forward. 2 years in a row, my live streams were featured as exemplary in the opening keynote at Social Media Marketing World. Now, am I saying that to brag? Yeah, a little bit. I'm flexing a little bit. But I want you guys to know the type of person that I am. I am innovative, creative, and we have things coming out on this show that you have never seen happen on a live show before. So I hope that you will subscribe to the channel. I hope you'll keep viewing, keep watching. It's Stream Like You Mean It with Owen Video. Appreciate you guys watching, and I will see you next week.